I think everyone's already on mute, aren't you? Okay, perfect, girls. So if you just want to begin by coming into a child's pose, so just taking your knees out wide, the big toes to touch, sitting back onto your heels, and then reaching the arms forward and just resting the forehead onto your mat. And because we're practicing yin, as most of you already know, you don't need to keep your arms really active and like really straight and perfect. If you want to, you can just completely relax your elbows onto the mat. And for these first few moments of the class, just completely surrender into the moment and notice how you're feeling in this posture. So if you can't sit back, just sit into a meditation seat instead. And just take a moment to ground down into this first posture. So as always, when we begin our yin practice, it takes at least a couple of the postures for us really to integrate into the present moment. Like often we've been doing something just beforehand, whether it's, even if it's just been something like relaxing on the sofa, still like your mind and your body are elsewhere. So just take a moment to really arrive not only on your mat, but also into your physical body. So just noticing what's going on in your body today. As we know, every day that we come to the mat, our bodies are different depending on what's going on in our lives. Some days we're feeling really open and energized, and other days we're really tired, like lots of us have already said today. Maybe we've got some aches and pains going on as well. And just take a moment to feel into what body you're arriving with today. And then whenever you feel ready, go a layer deeper. What's your overall energy today? What's been your energy throughout the day, and how is it right now in this moment? And then dive in deeper still. What's going on in the emotional body today? We're not necessarily trying to change anything. In fact, we're not trying to change anything at all. We're just observing what's there and working with the energy that we have today. Not trying to fit, not trying to push, not trying to strive. Just simply being with what is. And so today, since we had a lunar eclipse around 8 a.m. this morning, if you're in Spain, it was about 7 a.m. if you're in the UK. And eclipses are these really powerful portals of change and transformation. They occur when the lunar nodes intersect the path of the sun and the moon as they cross in the sky. And these lunar nodes are not really something that we can see with our eyes. They're not a planet or a star, but we can feel their powerful energy pushing us in the direction of our soul's path. And this particular cycle began all the way back in January last year, when the North Node entered Aries and the South Node entered Libra, at which point we arrived at this like karmic checkpoint along the axis of identity, and then moved into the axis of relationships. So this is an invitation for all of us to consciously navigate our relationship with the balance between me and we. So I'm just going to leave you to ponder that for another minute. Just taking your last few breaths in this posture. And moving really slowly and mindfully with no sense of rush, very slowly begin to curl back up. And as long as it feels okay for your body, you can just sit back onto your heels. And if it doesn't feel okay, just coming into a cross-legged position if you're not already there. Just taking a moment to rebound, to pause, and noticing like how much that one simple posture has impacted how you're feeling. Maybe it hasn't had any impact at all. Maybe you're already feeling a little more calm, a little more settled. Just tuning into what is, rather than what we would like it to be. From here, we'll move into our next posture, which is more focusing on the upper body. So you can stay sitting back onto your heels. I did this practice earlier today and stayed in this position, but Erica, for example, just stayed cross-legged. But then from here, we're going to take our right arm up towards the sky, and then drop the palm of the hand onto the back of the shoulders. And then your left arm is going to reach up to meet it. And I'm just going to turn around so that you can see my arms. So for me, this is possible to grab hold of fingertips and comfortable to stay here. If it's not for you, you can grab hold of your top instead and just hold on to the fabric. Just as long as your right elbow is pointing towards the sky and your left elbow is pointing down. And we're going to stay here for a good few minutes, just like we always do in our yin postures. If at any point it becomes unbearable to hold, obviously release and just come to a comfortable seat instead. And likewise, if you are sitting back onto your heels and it starts to feel too uncomfortable to hold, then just come into your cross-legged position. Well, as much as you can, try to stick with the posture. Like I say, I practiced this myself earlier today, and I was actually surprised by how long I was able to hold this posture. I thought it would be one that I could do just for a minute or two, but I ended up staying here for plus 4 minutes. And that's not a challenge to meet, it's just an observation of what happened in my own practice. So just observe what's happening in yours. So we all have our own lunar nodes within our birth charts, but the energy of this Aries and Libra axis will impact all of us as a collective for a period of 18 months. So like I said, it's already started back in July last year, and it's going to take us all the way up until January 2025, when the nodes will then shift again into 2 other signs. So for now, we have Libra in the South Node, and the South Node represents our gifts, where we feel comfortable, the things that we're inherently good at, but it also represents our old memories and wounds and any ancestral traumas that we're still clinging to. And the idea is that the South Node is kind of where we're comfortable. Like we've already come in with some experience of that energy. And so we feel very comfortable to be in the Libra energy. And now the challenge to push us forwards into our next kind of transformation is to start to get more comfortable in the Aries energy. And for anyone who knows their own nodal axis, so your own north node and south node, then potentially, because I know some of us are like similar ages, so potentially this is also activating your nodal return. So for me, my personal north node is in Aries, and so this is a nodal return for me. And likewise, for some else of you on the call, it might be the same. But like I say, it doesn't matter if it is or it isn't, because this energy is impacting all of us as a collective. As you hold this posture, just notice if you're taking the tension anywhere else in the body. Maybe noticing if you could relax the jaw, soften the belly. Relax the glutes, the legs, and the toes. Connect with your own inner rhythm of your inhale and exhale. Just noticing anything else that might be arising as you practice. And just spending another 60 seconds here. Taking another couple of breaths. And then just gently releasing the grip of the arms, slowly, slowly moving them back down, just bringing them to rest down in your lap. Just noticing the impact of that posture and also noticing the impact of the release. And close down the eyes for a moment as you rebound and take stock. Whenever you feel ready, you can just softly blink the eyes back open. We'll move into the posture on the other side. So bringing the left arm up, bringing the palm of the hand onto the back of the shoulders, and taking the right arm behind the back with the palm facing out. And again, maybe interlacing the fingers if that's available. And if not, just gripping onto the back of your top, your jumper, your t-shirt, whatever you've got on. And first of all, just observing how this side feels compared to the other. Noticing if it feels similar or different. Not judging one side compared to the other, but just observing. witnessing. And then again, just take stock of how the body is feeling and how you're holding it in this posture. Is there anything that could soften and expand? Are you holding on tightly? And could you afford to loosen the grip just a tiny bit? So as a collective, the North Node is traveling into the sign of Aries. And the North Node is what our soul came to move us towards. It's the person that we have the potential to be. And it's a call to all of us to step into our purpose. We can also think of it as a time when our souls are intervening to push us back onto the path towards our highest good, which ultimately will be the highest good for the rest of the world and for everyone in it. This week in particular is a really good time to allow ourselves to rest and receiving wisdom from the cosmos, wisdom from our own inner knowing. It's not the time necessarily to take action. It's actually very much the time for us to be in our yin energy. Just being, flowing, like I said, receiving. All the things that we don't always do so easily as a culture. Notice if you can soften the neck. Maybe part the lips, release the teeth and the tongue. Relax the diaphragm. Relax and soften the forehead. And if you notice that your mind is wandering, just bring your awareness back to your breath. Although we're not doing any particular kind of breathing in our yin practice, we can simply observe the inhale and the exhale. And just noticing how deep and how slow it is or isn't. Maybe even just noticing how it transitions from the start of the class to the end. And just staying here for another 60 seconds. Very slowly with the next couple of breaths, begin to loosen the grip And gently, gently, gently release the arms. Bring them back down into the lap. And just close down your eyes. If you're still sitting back onto your heels, you can also maybe just come into a meditation seat instead, unless you're really comfortable where you are. Very softly blinking the eyes back open. From here, we're going to make our way into a dragonfly. We're going to be in this posture for quite a while in different variations. So come into a version of this posture that feels good for you. So as always, I always find with this posture that a lot of people try to go really wide. And it's almost like, trying to do the splits when you were a kid. But we're not trying to do the splits. So we're just coming to a place where we feel sensations, or ideally in the inside of the legs, maybe in the hamstrings as well. But also a place where you know you're going to be able to sit for quite some time. And then grab hold of your bolster or your cushions or whatever you've got to hand. You're going to bring your cushions to the inside of your right leg. And then you're going to twist your body slightly towards the right. And then just walk your hands down towards your cushions until your body naturally says stop. So you might feel this kind of more intensely now in your right hamstring. You might also be feeling it in your left QL muscles, in your spine. Wherever you are, soften as much as possible. So soften the neck and head, relax the shoulders. Just remember that it's not about how deep you can go. It's just about how deep your body wants to go this evening. Again, we're going to be here for a good few minutes. So allow your body to open up naturally with gravity as it pulls you down. And there's no force to get there. Often referred to as the nodes of fate. We can trust that anything that is leaving or being eclipsed out of our lives right now is aligned to our greater soul purpose. So we had the spring equinox just last week on the 20th of March, which signified the start of a fresh new cycle and the start of the astrological new year. And so now at this full moon, just a week later, we're being asked to take a really deep and honest look at what we've maybe brought into the new year that's actually not meant to be travelling forwards with us. Sometimes we have things in our life that we hold on to, even though we know they're not right for us. Even things that make us miserable. Because as humans, we're often scared of the unknown. We're scared of change. And so we choose to cling to these false senses of safety and security, even if they're not safe or secure at all. So just have a ponder about what you've maybe carried forward, which if you had the choice and you weren't worried about the circumstances, then that's not the word I'm looking for. But if you weren't worried about what would happen, would you let them go? Or what would you let go? I think the word I was looking for was repercussions, not circumstances. Like I said, I'm quite tired today. We're just going to be here for around another 90 seconds. Again, just witness if there's anywhere in the body where you're holding on or holding up, especially if you're leaning on bolster or cushions, and you also kind of bringing some tension up into the shoulders. Can you soften the shoulders a little bit more? So 30 seconds. And very slowly, using the hands to lift the upper body, just starting to walk the hands closer towards the body as you lift the chest. And then when you come to upright, slowly twist your body back to the center. You can just leave the legs where they are as long as it feels comfortable. If you feel like you need a little bit of a release, just cross the legs into the seated position instead. But if not, just take a moment here to pause and notice how the body feels when you've opened one side. And notice that craving that occurs when you want to move to the other side or to the next posture. As humans, we're always looking to what's next. It's a very yang energy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's also good for us sometimes to just marinate in what is. Whenever you feel the urge, softly blink the eyes back open. And we're going to gently shift over to the left leg now. So just taking your cushions or your bolster over to the left. And then gently twisting from the waist and starting to walk the fingertips down towards your leg until your body says stop. When your body says stop, get yourself nice and comfortable, pad up your arms, relax the neck and head. And find a place where you can hold this posture for the next few minutes. So this eclipse is working with Pluto, the planet of death and destruction, but also the planet of rebirth and transformation. So over the next 2 weeks, we're being asked to let go of all that's no longer serving us, even if you don't yet know what's going to come in its place. So this could be people, it could be jobs, or even parts of ourselves that we need to allow to fall away. And since the South Node is in Libra, themes like people-pleasing and indecision, and places where you shrink into the crowd, are going to be highlighted. So again, just notice how you're holding yourself in this posture. And if there's any opportunity for you to soften a little bit more, the shoulders to be more relaxed, the neck and head to soften and relax. Relax the belly, relax the thighs, relax the calves, and relax the toes. And just another 45 seconds or so. Very slowly begin to walk the hands closer towards the body, lifting up the chest, lifting up the torso, and gently twisting back into the center. And again, just taking a moment to pause here to rebound. Now just being more than halfway through the class, quite a bit more than halfway. Notice your energy. Notice what's going on in your body. And notice any emotions that have been arising. Gently blink the eyes back open. Keeping the legs where we are, we're just going to reach both arms up towards the sky and just lift up out of the hips. So almost like you're trying to lift your rib cage up away from the hips. Just for a moment. And then soften your shoulders, soften your rib cage, soften your belly, and begin to melt the body forwards. So we're coming into our dragonfly in the center now. And if you want to, if you have got a bolster or cushions, you can just place your hands on them. Maybe this is only possible if you've got wooden floor actually, but if you've got wooden floors, you can maybe even just push the bolster forward until your body says stop. And if you're on the carpet, you might just need to walk yourself down. But again, not going so deep that you're not going to be able to hold the posture. Relax the shoulders, maybe even take the hands a little bit wider than the shoulders. Relax the neck and head. Relax the legs. Relax the glutes. Relax the muscle fibers that run up and down the spine. So why are we doing all of this releasing with the Libra South Node? Because on April the 8th, so in 2 weeks on Monday, we have the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, which is going to last for a total of 4 minutes and 28 seconds. And it's said that every minute of that eclipse represents a year in our lives. So basically the effects of this new moon will ripple out for 4 years to come. So although we're doing some release work now, don't worry if you don't release every single little thing from your life in the next 2 weeks that you don't want to carry forward, because this energy is going to take us forward for 4 years. So it has the potential to be truly life-changing if you're willing to heed its advice or its lessons. And like I was saying just before, releasing and letting go can feel quite scary, especially when it's not immediately obvious what's going to come to take its place. But it's also really important to remember that nothing that is ever really meant for us will ever be eclipsed out of our life. But any places where you're gripping or clinging to this false sense of safety or security or knowing the comfort zone, this is what's going to be highlighted under the light of this current eclipse, and especially over the whole eclipse period, so the whole 18 months. Really allow yourself to dive inwards and explore your own inner world. And even as I'm sharing these words, which are somewhat external, just notice your own inner reaction to them. Maybe they resonate, maybe they don't. And ultimately, we have these blueprints, these birth charts that we come in with, and then the planetary action that occurs throughout our lives. But we do still have our free will. And we get to choose how much we engage or don't. I'm just going to be here for another 90 seconds. Witness anywhere that's feeling tense. See if you can send your breath to that area. I think I've said this before, but sometimes when I talk about where we feel tense, it might not be in the body. Maybe the mind is tense. Maybe the thoughts are busy. So do you need to invite some more softness there? Just take in another couple of breaths in this posture. And then once more, just slowly begin to walk the hands back up towards the body, lifting the neck and head last. And then when you reach the top, scoop your hands underneath your knees, one at a time, and just help the knees to bend. We've been in that posture for quite a while, so you might feel quite a lot of sensation. Help the other one to bend. And just take the knees about hip distance apart, and then curl in towards yourself. And you can also stay upright if that feels better for you. And just take a moment to pause and notice the impacts of that posture. When you feel ready, blinking the eyes back open. We're going to come onto our backs now to do a heart opening posture. So again, if you have got a bolster, you might want to use your bolster and place it lengthways at the top of the mat. If you've not, grab a cushion and just roll it into like a kind of tube shape. You can use that in a similar way. And if you haven't got a bolster or a cushion to hand, but you have got a block, you can place the block on its width edge, just underneath the shoulder blades, and then lie down over the block. So just assume that you've got cushions or bolsters. So you're going to bring the soles of your feet together, knees apart, and then lie down over your cushion. Open the arms out to the sides, and allow your chest and your diaphragm and your rib cage to open up. So right now, and in the 6 months to come, maybe even this whole 4-year cycle, we're being called to reassess our relationships. So there might be a like really karmic energy to this letting go. If anyone that doesn't serve us anymore. We're also being asked to release old beliefs, areas of our lives where we're prone to people pleasing, places where we tend to sit on the fence, or we avoid speaking up because we're afraid of conflicts. We're basically being asked to stop living our lives for others and instead to step up into the best and truest version of ourselves, which ultimately will be better for everyone else as well. In some ways, it could almost sound a little bit selfish that as a collective, we're being asked to move away from we and more into the me energy. But if we think about this only in its highest expression, by being more of our authentic, true selves, by being the best version of us that isn't trying to dim our lights or play small or play safe, we also open up the path for other people to be able to be their best self as well. When we're doing the work that we're meant to be doing, we're serving the greater good. And that will look very different for everyone. When we're with the people we're meant to be with, whether romantically or friendship-wise, just who we spend our time with. We've been called to do that for a reason. One of my teachers, as I was prepping for this class, shared a really old and cheesy quote, but one that's always really resonated with me. And that was that people tend to come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And the more that we can allow the people who are there just for a season to come and go, or the people who are there for a reason to teach us something, to take the lesson and to gently and kindly let them go, the more that we have the energy for those people who are really meant to be with us for this lifetime. You're just going to be here for another 60 seconds, opening up your heart, opening up your lung meridians, hopefully finding more ease with your breath. Very softly and begin to roll to one side. Move the cushions or your bolster or your block out of the way. And just come to lie on your back in your rebound, in your Shavasana-like position. Just taking that pause. This is one of my favorite postures to rebound from because I always think it feels so amazing to sink back to the ground after you've opened the chest so much. Hopefully it feels equally as juicy and nice for you. And when you're ready, you're going to hug your left knee in towards your chest. And then take it over the right side of the body into a supine twist. Reaching the left arm over to the left side of your room. If your knee is quite far from the ground, you can maybe place a cushion or a block underneath your knee, or you can just leave it to hover if that feels okay. Really feel into nice juicy twist of the spine. As we leave all of this Libra shadow energy behind, I just want to say that every sign has its shadow and every sign has its light side. So this is simply the energy that we're all working with right now. It's not to say Aries is good and Libra is bad or vice versa. But as we begin to leave the Libra shadow behind, we begin to welcome in the positive expression of the Aries energy. So things like trusting the self, leading with a sense of purpose, even in spite of uncertainty and outside pressure. Being the one to trailblaze new paths. And being the one who's willing to go first, even when that path is not yet visible. Maybe even being a little bit of a rebel or being rebellious, but ideally only for the sake of positive change. And gently begin to drift back into the center. Release your left knee down. Just take a moment to pause before we move to the other side. And then when you're ready, hugging the right knee in towards the chest. And take it over the left side of the body, the twist. Reaching the right arm to the right. Again, maybe just propping that right knee up onto a cushion or a block. And then allowing your body to melt here and be supported by the ground. By the time we get to the new moon solar eclipse in Aries in 2 weeks' time, we're hopefully going to have unlocked a whole new level of healing. And ideally, we'll start to focus more on living by our values, healing our own self-worth, and easily leaving any environments that no longer feel good. In just days, or actually just a week before this new moon arrives, Mercury will have retrograded into Aries. And so it's almost like we're being given a little test from the universe, because retrogrades tend to bring things up from the past to be revisited. So things like old habits, old partners, old ways of thinking may start to re-emerge. But hopefully this brand new healed version of you will be so strong in your own personal power that there'll be no running back to these past versions or past people or past experiences. And instead, you'll meet these revisits from a new and more healed version of yourself. When you're ready, slowly drift back into the center. Come into your final resting pose, into your Shavasana. And as always, I run us right up until the last minute for Shavasana. So I'm going to try and keep us here for a couple of minutes past the hour. Obviously, if you do need to go, then feel free to go. But also, if you've got plenty more time and you want to stay longer, you can always just stay in your Shavasana, even when I try to guide you out of it. So just stay for as long as you need to or can this evening. Before you sink too deeply into that Shavasana, I'm just going to share a couple of mantras that I created for this full moon eclipse. I'm just going to read the mantra out loud, and feel free to repeat it out loud or just repeat it to yourself, and then just completely surrender. I release all that no longer serves me. I surrender to whatever comes next. I am ready for the brand new, more healed version of me. Now, just completely melt your entire body into the ground, into the floor. Allow yourself to be held by Mother Earth, fully supported. Very softly and slowly, begin to invite some gentle movement back to the body. And softly begin to deepen the breath. Whenever you begin to feel the urge to stretch, reach the arms up over your head, point the toes forwards, take a full body stretch. And whenever you want to, next exhale, hook the knees in towards your chest, give yourself a nice big squeeze. Always being thankful to yourself for doing the practice. And gently roll over to your left side, your yin side, the side of the feminine, the side of the moon. And slowly begin to make your way into a comfortable seated position. Just keeping your eyes closed for a moment more if you can. And drawing the hands into the heart center, bowing the forehead to the fingertips. Now just think of someone who you'd like to dedicate your practice to. Maybe someone who really needs this peaceful energy in their life. And see if you can energetically send some of those peaceful vibes their way. When we practice yoga, we don't just practice for our own benefit. We're practicing for the good of all. So as you go into your evening and everyone that you come across, whether it's just your pets or your partner, whoever it may be, see if you can spread this peaceful energy to them as well. Thank you so much for joining, girls, ladies, I should say. And hope you are feeling nice and relaxed. And I'll hopefully see you all very soon. Sleep well this evening. Don't put your crystals out. It's too chaotic energy under an eclipse. But yeah, have a nice peaceful sleep, hopefully. Thank you for joining. Bye, ladies.